Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Gotham Chess Slow Run. In this series, I started on an authorized account on chess.com, and I'm going up the rating ladder. This is episode number 31, and we are approaching 1400. Deep in the intermediate territory, the games have been pretty high quality the last few episodes. No longer some dumb stuff going on in the opening, and we're going to see what we can experience today. A friendly reminder, all of these slow runs are a ton of educational content, so occasionally I will promote something, but I'm promoting myself. Number one, European Tour is in October, November this year. Link will be in the description. And more importantly, well, I suppose it depends which one you consider important or not, is the second book. Signed copies in the US have for now sold out, but they are available in the UK, in Europe, and in Canada. Waterstones will be doing something, has started a signed copy pre-order promotion, and if you just want it, signed or not, it's available on Amazon, on Penguin, and so on and so forth. I am referring to this book a lot, and I know it might get annoying, but can't wait to share it with all of you when it's live in October, and it contains a lot of great information. So, we kick things off. I'm going to open up with the king's pawn, and I'm going to lower my volume a little bit. We have d6. Okay, d6, pierced defense, or maybe some sort of Philidor. 2 pawns in the center is good if you can. Okay, the opponent is playing a made-up opening. Now, there's a few ways to approach this when they play like this. I think we must have faced this like one time. Obviously, the easy thing to do is just to put knights in the middle and then bishops. That's what I would do if I was a beginner. As a stronger player, what you can do, what I like to do when I was a kid in particular, is I like to put as many pawns forward as I could. Because when you have a lot of pawns and then your pieces come next, you have a lot greater attacking power because the pawns actually lead the dance. To be honest, you can even move the 4th pawn here. There's actually nothing really wrong with it, and I want to show you how to handle such a ridiculous position. All right, now maybe the opponent's going to play something like f6. Okay, so black is playing very cagey. We don't know which of those pawns is going to move forward, so now I'm going to develop my knights behind my pawn wall, right? I am expecting the move e5 at some point. Already, by the way, when the knight comes out, striking at it is not that bad of a move because you have so much backup. You don't have to, though. You obviously can just, prepare yourself because this was under attack. But and now this, without a doubt, is the best move. And the reason is you throw off the natural development scheme that the opponent wants to play. If we just play bishop d3, bishop e3, and then play e5, that's probably still going to be good. Like if I just proceed with developing both bishops to active spots, we're still going to have a very good position. And I will just play that. But I'm going to show you, especially and particularly when black castles. Now black will probably lose the game in within 10 moves. The thing is, when you have such a powerful, and not just because they're playing me, when you have such a powerful center against something like this, the right pawn move is the key, and this pawn move attacks the knight, removes it from the defense of the king, and when they take us, if they take us, we actually have a choice. We can take with the f pawn or the d pawn. There are some positions where the d pawn is better, because if you take with the d pawn, this pawn cannot destabilize your center. So you take, you keep the pawn structure completely symmetrical, both d pawns go this way, and you don't have any undermining of the center. The flip side is when you take this, you lose control of c5, which immediately opens this knight and the bishop, and this in this case is superior. It's superior because you also open up this bishop's diagonal. So look, on this move, the bishop was blocked by, the pawn, was blocking the bishop, and now the knight goes back, and now the knight can't really, return to the game so easily. The best plan for here for black would be something like pawn to f6. At this point, I'm looking at different Greek gift ideas with a move like knight to g5. I wouldn't be shocked if here we can play something like pawn to h4. Queen c2 to attack the pawn on h7 is reasonable, although, I think black is going to probably just play pawn to h6. So while we are not immediately winning, we clearly have, have generated enough of an attack, and we probably have quite a good position. So now I'm like, okay, should I castle this way or should I castle this way? You know, or should I finish up my development? What I will do is I'm gonna play this move, Queen C2, but I'm doing it to accelerate my castling. Okay, my opponent just blundered this move, or what? What was that? What was this? Is there some big idea here? There could be a big idea. But now, by the way, you see what I just said about destabilizing our center? If we take, my opponent is going to activate material this way. We could bring our bishop back. Another thing we could do, especially when you want to attack somebody, is you don't want to open the center. We can push, and the center stays closed. So after we trade, the center is deadlocked, and they cannot take this pawn. And I'm noticing that based on continuity, right, how every move affects the position. And now I'm going to play this move, d5. Now here black has this move, g6. You could accidentally get your bishop trapped. And let's see if my opponent spots that. By the way, both knight and pawn are good. In fact, now that I'm sitting here, I almost like knight more because I add something into the black position, which puts some pressure. G6 traps the bishop, but I'm going to sacrifice and show you... Okay, I can't show you anything because my opponent is just playing so fast. In a practical setting that wasn't just like me doing a slow run, you do have to play faster, especially if a person's playing this quickly. So we could take this, but I like the stability, and what I'm going to do is actually bring my bishop back and defend my knight. And if my opponent takes my knight, which I think will happen in like 2 seconds, or they're going to play here. Yeah, there you go. Now I'm going to take with the pawn because together they can push, although bishop was probably also fine. Now, if I get my queen, I mean, this is an insane move to play. So my opponent is just simply playing too fast. So let me show you how to maintain a fast pace of a game of chess, okay? You're low on time. This will teach you how to play in time trouble. This will also teach you how to play safe moves quickly. Okay, king g8. Clearly this move has no threat. What have we not done yet? We haven't castled. I don't know if it's the best move, but we need to speed up. What have we not done yet? Develop the bishop, okay? This is a nice and threatening move. This is always a check. Let's try to play every move with this type of thought process relatively quickly. All right, okay, g6. What does that do? I'm not sure. Maybe bishop h6 attacking the rook. Okay, boom. Play that move in 7 seconds. We still haven't gotten our piece out. Okay, knight there. There's no threat. Maybe we bring our rook to the middle. Maybe we push this pawn. You know, I kind of like pushing this pawn because the bishop is looking really stuck. So the bishop's only move for safety is bishop h4. There is no way that move is good. I can take the bishop, right? But I can also add an attacker to it. Boom. And now the bishop's just trapped. And like these moves we just played one after the other. I'm leaving my bishop here to put some pressure on the king. Of course, I can always trade when I need to. If I were to win this, I would probably just trade this without thinking. Okay, this one's easy. Now, the knight cannot re-enter the game. I expect bishop to g4 or bishop to h3 because the opponent is going to try to get something back. If they go there, okay, I'm not sure what that does. Maybe looking at this move, right? All right, I still haven't brought my rook. Let's centralize the rook like this. Now, here comes queen h3. We are winning, so, oh, but notice they're attacking this and this. Now, a very difficult move to spot here is to bring the queen over to h2. That's a tough move to spot. I think what's much more practical is to take this, and this is actually very instructive by the opponent bringing in the queen like that, but we rotate over, we defend our entire position, and that is chess right here, like spotting that the queen can do all of these things rotating, and that's board vision, you know, that's going to take your chess to the next level, which is also the name of the next book. The bishop is hanging. Why can't I just put it there? Chess is a relatively simple game sometimes. If black plays bishop to e6, I can predict basically all of the moves. We take, we're winning. Of course we want to make some trades. Now that wasn't a great trade because after pawn takes, the rook sees the knight, which is a very unfortunate side effect of what has just transpired. Now I have to be a little bit careful. I can move the knight somewhere. I can also continue to offer a trade of queens. And even though the knight is hanging, it can't actually be taken. So I'm going to continue to offer a queen trade because we are completely winning. And if black wants to avoid the queen trade, they have to play something like queen f5 and get out of the way. And at that point, with the queen leading the attack on the knight, it's actually not really attacking anything because my rook is going to protect. And I can move the knight somewhere to attack the queen, and I can also just push this pawn because it's ultimately going to become a queen. I also can take this if I want. And yeah, I actually see a nice little simple combo. So check this out. So I'm going to take the knight now, right? King is going to take, and then I'm going to go knight to g5, and this should win us the game. I'm threatening the queen. I'm threatening checkmate. There is no check. That is the biggest thing. There is no check. Oh, okay. I take the queen, you take me, and now I can take the rook, but then you would take my rook, so I play Zwischenzug, in-between move, rook f7 check. Defended by my knight. Rook is going to collapse next. If the king goes there, this is just mate. So black either has to defend that or run the king this way. And black just resigns. And we win. Now, in this game, we played a person who played really fast, which is both a positive and a negative if you're trying to improve as a chess player. They clearly played their own original opening setup. They did not play extremely principled chess, but we did have to show, you know, how to make an impact. Now, look, here you can just develop your knights and everything. I chose to play in one of the more aggressive styles. It's not the best style, but it kind of shows you that when pawns lead the charge, good things can happen. Now, my opponent played like this. Yeah, look, already e5 plus 1.2. That is already the best move. I went here, e5 once again, the best move. What's amazing is e5 is the best now. Why is it the best now? Because after this trade, the knight doesn't have e8 or d7. So black either has to roam into the middle and get trapped, maybe. Black either has to go to g4, after which there's always this idea where you can take the knight. I've shown you this in previous games, where you damage the structure, and if black ever castles, the king is just going to be weak. Taking is not even the best move. It's just like one of the options. And of course, knight to h5, which would lose the game instantly to getting the knight trapped. And the knight cannot return because of the bishop, something a lot of beginners miss. Or black goes back to the home square, at which point we just have a massive lead in development. The way that I played this, where I focused on principles, oh, I'm supposed to be principled and not rush. By the time I played this move, black actually had the move knight to e8 and was totally okay here. Now, white has multiple choices here. The top move of the computer is simply to castle. The second choice is to enable the Greek gift sacrifice. Keep in mind what you need for a Greek gift sacrifice. h7 is only protected by the bishop. Check. But knight g5 is not possible, followed by queen h5. So we play the move h4 because the idea is now we have Greek gift ideas. Knight g5 check. If takes, we take with the pawn. And if the king goes somewhere, then we have queen h5 with a monster attack. The only reason black survives the attack here is because this is one of the rare cases. One of the knights will go to f6 and sacrifice itself. There you go. And after pawn takes, knight takes, the queen actually doesn't have mate and actually has to leave. So there you go. But h4 is a key attacking idea. I decided to play this move because my idea was that after h6, I would long castle. You castle on the other side if you want to have a successful attack. I was going to go here, and if c5, I just want you all to understand, if you're faced with a situation like this, you want to be a strong chess player, you lock the center if possible. You keep the center closed. You don't open up paths for the opponent. And just, you know, if you can play d5, you can only play d5 if e5 is guarded, right? And so that's what I was going to go for. My opponent allowed me to take on h7. And then, again, the best move is with the pawn. Understanding this. Look, it's +3 if you push the pawn. And if you do this, you lose a big chunk of your advantage. And one more thing, if my opponent here had played the move g6, I can sacrifice. This is very instructive. You take, and there are some positions where you sacrifice the material and there are no pawns left protecting the enemy king. I'm not even threatening anything immediate. I'm simply showing that the lack of space disallows black from easy defense, and we are winning. But some positions you will sacrifice and you will not be so easily winning, you know? Okay, e4 on the board. Maybe I'll show you how to play the opening that my opponent just played. I mean, a lot of you request different openings, so I'm going to play d6, knight f6. I'm going to play the Peer's Defense or the King's Indian setup myself now. Okay, knight f6, so we attack the pawn. My opponent didn't put 2 pawns in the center, so now they probably should move with the knight. Yep, now I play g6. And again, you should play d4. So this is a version where the opponent doesn't have huge pawn backup. I'm going to play bishop g7, and I'm going to castle. Okay, that move is not really doing much, although I cannot play bishop g4 anymore. Fine. And this is just the idea, and then we're going to commit one of the E or C pawns. This pawn, okay, there's our development. Probably white is gonna castle. It is a bit annoying I don't have this pin. That is actually by far the most natural move in these positions. So now we need to decide how we finish up our development. In these King's Indian positions, you have to find a way to use your pawns. Like, you either have to go for e5 or a d5, like e6, d5, or c5. So in the spirit of putting knights behind pawns, let's play c5 and put the knight behind the c pawn so that we have more control over the center. There is nothing wrong with any of these moves. Okay, bishop g5 is a move. Sometimes when I see a bishop like this, I like to just ask what the intentions are. The alternative, if we don't do that, is white will make a battery and come down this way. I actually really like how my opponent is playing this position. It's very sophisticated. They have delayed castling, so maybe they will long castle. I think what they're going to do is go queen d2 and attack this. It's very instructive so far. Now, I don't know that, right? I'm an intermediate, so I'm just developing. But the second they castle, I want you to understand, it's go time. Now, don't forget, you just put this pawn here. The best way to protect it is actually with the king. If you push, you might be susceptible to pawn attacks. If you push this, well, that just helps their plan. And yeah, this is a great game. Now, here's a move. You can offer a trade of the light squared bishops. I mean, I don't think this is a bad option. You can play e5 and try to jump the knight into the middle of the board. That's another good option. Or you can start your own little queenside pawn storm here. And if they castle, they will be castling into that attack. Wow, this is game on. This is a person that is playing very, very well. So g5 is an idea, right? And if I take, there's like a potential knight capture there with a check. Wow. So g5 will attack my knight. And me playing g5, you generally don't want to push pawns like this where you're being attacked. So I'm gonna move my knight. I'm actually gonna not be threatened here. I'm gonna move my knight to d7 so that when g5 comes, I can play h5 and I can lock the position. The most important thing when you're being attacked, like we're under attack here, we're defending against an attack, trading off attacking pieces, trading off the bishop, trading off the knight, and especially the queen takes a lot of power out of the attack and locking the structure. So very instructive game. A move like knight d7 would not occur to somebody rated 1400. Okay, there's the move long castle. Now I'm looking at b5. I'm looking at these aggressive moves. I'm also looking at maybe knight d4 or knight e5. Both of these moves look decent. If I play b5, there is bishop here, which, as stupid as it looks, I do have to defend against. And that could be a little annoying. I don't hate the move knight to d4, just kind of establishing, yeah, I really like this move, because if knight takes, it's a fork. If bishop takes, you lose a key attacker of the king. So knight d4, just jumping in like this, establishing good control in the middle in what is otherwise a pretty locked position, I think is instructive. And the knight is just straight up hanging. So white does have to do something, right? b5 was also very natural. Then I would have just defended my knight and kept attacking. If I can get b5, b4, queen a5, get my queen down there, that is how you attack a king. And also put the rook behind the b pawn and do something like this. So very, very high level game so far. Hopefully I'm not running into anybody else that is doing a slow run episode. This is a tough spot for white. Very tough spot. You can't take with the knight, but the knight is hanging. You can't defend the knight. There's no way to defend the knight, so you have to do something. This feels incorrect. I kind of get the idea. You sort of avoid the trade, but this feels like I'm now gaining some initiative. So let's continue with this move b5. I think white has to go here, not because the beginner thought process is the rook is hanging and maybe they don't see it, but the intermediate thought process is this move seizes back control of the game. And I don't think that happened, which allows me now to continue my attack. And this could become very dangerous for white because now I'm the one attacking. We both have pawns in front of our kings that have been pushed. Make sure this is protected. Don't blunder that. And since we both have pawns in front of our kings that have been pushed, those are called hooks. And you can use them as targets when you use a pawn advancement. So knight d5, this pawn is hanging. Now we are really gonna, we're really gonna get advanced here. This is hanging. The only way to defend it is a5. But if you're thinking to play a5 here, you're not getting it. We're not looking to defend ourselves here. We're looking to attack. I'm looking at queen a5. I'm even looking at a pawn sacrifice, pawn to b3 here, just giving up the pawn. I'm not sure I want to play a5. I'm really not sure. I don't know what else, is going to happen on this side of the board. So a5 to me is a little feeble. It's just a little feeble. It could be the best move, but I'm looking at stuff like b3. Just give the pawn away, potentially open up this king, open up the file. B3 just looks so appetizing. I think we have to play it. I do want to show you how to attack, and I like the move B3 a lot. I think practically it might not be the best move. Practically it might be the best move. According to the computer, it might not be. We force the opponent to open up their king, which is really gonna, it's gonna serve us great to a great benefit. So now we take this, and the king is open. All right, we've opened up the king, and we have our dark squared bishop, and we have the bishop pair. I'm looking at knight c5 here. Knight c5 attacks this. And if they take us, well, it's a trade, and they lose another attacker. So we've actually gotten rid of 2 of the bishops that could be attacking us. If they defend with the king, that's fantastic. If they defend with the queen, that's also not bad, because then the queen is off here. Our bishop, compared to their knight, for example, night and day, no pun intended. Rook b8. If the queen goes here, always looking at queen a5. e6 can kick out this knight, and even bishop e6, just targeting this side of the board, get my queen out, get the rooks here. Okay, so they take. So it's a bishop versus knight game. We are a pawn down. Kings are on the opposite sides. I'm expecting f4. We've learned a lot about pawn play. Pawns generally should lead an attack, right? Pawns should lead an attack, but I still have rook b8, bishop e6, queen a5 ideas, bringing the second rook. That's how you attack. This game will be decided with a king being pulled out of the castle. I actually don't think this is dangerous. When you have a queen and a king like this on the same line, it's not scary. I'm looking at bishop e6, already looking very good for me, although the knight could retreat. Bishop b7. Bishop e6, knight f4. I can't take right away. I can kick the knight away, and then it will move maybe to f4. And then I can attack it again. I like just this simple move, bishop to b7. I'm attacking the knight. It has to leave. Because if queen c5, I pin the queen. And that would be a very sad way for the game to end. Another move which I could have played here, which I actually kind of forgot about because the queen moved, is I could have went queen a5 straight away. And that would be really dangerous. So the knight is maybe looking to go to c4. There's no immediate danger to me. I'm a little sad this bishop is here because I kind of would have liked the rook to be on this side of the board. So we could go queen a5. Yeah, why not? Let's go queen a5. So we're just, man, I would do anything to have this pawn gone, so I could just have my rooks. So the knight to c4. Queen a1 check. There's actually nothing there. I need to open up some more lines. If knight c4, I'm going queen b4 or queen b5. And I mean, my bishop is just so powerful. It's much stronger than the knights. Yeah, and maybe now queen b4. Now queen c3, of course, I just take. Queen d2, I take. So our queen is a little stranded here. But I feel like it's almost a mutual situation. And hey, I can keep hammering. Oh, now that I look at that, we have said the pawns are the most useful attacking piece. I mean, rook a1 is checkmate, basically. Because the king can't get off the rank. So I'm going to go a5, a4. That's my new plan. Break this down with my pawn. And the position is deceiving for white. It looks like everything is okay, but you can't really move anything. g5 is a cool idea. Just sacrifice a pawn kind of similar to how I did, but I don't even have to acknowledge this pawn. I could take it and defend it. I could also just push and lock up the position. So yeah, knight f3, but there's no threat. I think I'm playing a5. And once a4 lands, I mean, we're throwing pawns forward to open up lines for our pieces. This is an extremely instructive game. Extremely instructive. It's fascinating how, despite being a pawn up and seemingly you think white is better, I think white is much worse here. Much. You can start transferring all these pieces to defend yourself, yet they defend nothing. They defend nothing, because the knight on d2 doesn't actually combat any of my pieces. It could maybe layer up against the king, but that's miserable, you know? It's just a matter of time in a position like that until the aggressive side breaks through. Of course, I would not like a queen trade. It's also important to understand what you're looking for in positions like this. I would not like a queen trade. My queen is extremely strong, and the white queen is extremely defensive, holding on to the extra pawn that I gave. And we see white, like, not understanding what to play here, because even if you play something like knight e5, which looks aggressive, I don't even have to take it, right? I can just continue with a4. Rook d2. That doesn't stop my plan. That's just my plan. I just want the rook over here. And by the time white evacuates, it's too late, I think. Pawn takes, rook a1 check, and we're going to win. Rook a1 check wins us a queen right now. Ooh, that's an interesting move. Okay. So the first thing I want to do is sacrifice the rook. Obviously, right? That's what everybody likes. If I take, the king runs. It's actually not... It's not flawless, unfortunately. But it looks really cool, right? And I mean, I feel like for the sake of the series, we should maybe consider doing it. It's a dubious sacrifice, but we might as well try. So we're only down a pawn now. We will be down a pawn in general. We'll have a knight and a pawn for a rook, and the king will be running around. Now, it's very easy to miscalculate here that after king d1, you win the rook. That doesn't mean you need to play queen a1, queen c1. You don't have to go for this at all. At this point, you can kind of reset yourself. So the king is going to e2. We know that. Is there anything else we can do? Can we anticipate the king coming this way and play something like pawn to f5? Which looks really crazy, but we're trying to activate the rook or break down the something like this. Or how about this for board vision? Bishop takes pawn because the queen hits the knight. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I didn't even see that until we got here. I was looking at c4, sacrificing. c4 also a very interesting move because after queen takes, there's rook c8. So c4 is what I want you to consider. It's a very forcing move. Very forcing. But bishop e4 is nasty. That is a nasty move. Just like out of nowhere, a move that doesn't look possible at all, but it's just made possible by seeing how all the pieces coordinate. My original idea was going to be to push. My opponent misses this, and now it's a fork. And an attack is successful in chess if you checkmate or if you end up with more material. If you get a return on your investment, we win the knight back immediately. Now we win back 5 of the points here. We're gonna have an extra bishop, and we're gonna have we're gonna have an extra bishop and I think an extra pawn and checkmating ideas. Now we just clean up. Oh, always look for checks. I think this move is good to throw in. It's not winning, but, you know, don't get lazy. There is king e2. But it's an improvement. We improve the position of our rook. Why would we not do that? And now I can take this pawn. Or hang out, but I don't see a reason you shouldn't just take as many pawns as you can. I think my opponent might go here, but then there's this. And if they play f3, yeah. Now I take. King f1 is what you should play, probably. And in chess, you can convert a game with a ruthless attack on the king or an endgame simplification. And I think in this... Oh, this is just mate. That's kind of funny. That's a dovetail checkmate. It's when a king is trying to escape, like, out diagonally. I was going to go bishop d4 check and win the queen and win everything. But this is just mate. That was a very cool game. I have to say, that was a game like that'll take your chess to 1800. That was a game that was a great game. I was very not like the way I played. I'm just very happy there was very instructive moments in that game. So it was cool that my opponent delayed their castling, and I want you to have these thoughts in your head as you play. Oh, they're delaying castling a little bit. And don't let them make this battery against you in the King's Indian or in the Peer's defense, you know, where they try to trade your dark squared bishop. You know, I went like this, queen d2, king h7, a3, and I played a6 with the idea to start a queenside attack. g4 was a great move. And yeah, I'm looking at the engine now, and the top moves of the computer here are b5 and knight to d7. And I did say that during the game. I said, like, probably b5 is the best move, because after g5, you just take the bishop, right? You are creating that threat. And if after b5 the opponent went this way, well, then, you know, then I should move my knight out of the way. It is kind of crazy that the best move here is to move the knight out of the way. Because if you allow the move g5 to happen, you have a serious problem on your hands. You allow a check, and then you allow initiative. When you allow the opponent to make moves with a tempo, every punch is landing. You are backing up, defending yourself, absorbing the damage. Now you go here, and here comes h4. Now you're like, I don't know what to do. b5 here, then you make another slow move. All of a sudden, here comes pawn to h5. Now you don't know which way to take. You take with the pawn. Now white castle's long, and now the rooks are coming. And if you set up this position, black will lose 80% of the time at the intermediate level. An advanced player will realize that before this attack actually arrives, you have to be extremely timely with your counterplay. You have to sense that in the game. You have to sense that something's going to happen. I went here because g5 no longer attacks my knight, and I would immediately lock the position. And after I lock the position, the pawns are never getting through. White has to look for obscure sacrifices to try to get into the territory. And also, landing in the middle with your pieces is the way to go. Pawn and knight going like this instead of knight in front of the pawn. Pawn, knight, and bishop all working together. I thought it was a really instructive game. Knight to d4 was the best move. b5 was the best move. b4 was one of the best moves. And in this position, I advocated for sacrificing the pawn. Yeah, it's good. The computer likes rook b8, because if knight takes b4, you walk directly into the bulldozer here. And a5 is not bad. a5 is just too slow, and it allows white to immediately begin their, you know, bad intentions on this side of the board. But I thought it was very instructive that we played this move b3, lost a pawn, but we got to open the king. That was the most important thing. And then every move comes with a thud. Knight c5. You take my knight, no problem, but you lost an attacking piece. You lost two bishops, and one of your knights went back. You don't ever have the firepower to attack here. Bishop to b7 was not the best move. Bishop b6 was the best move. I just didn't know what to do here. Oh my gosh. The computer shows bishop takes b3. I didn't see that. Sacrificing and forcing the opponent into rook b8 with b2 at the bottom of the row. And this is lost. It's lost because even though white is getting a lot of material for the queen, the king is alone with the queen and the rook coming, and white just doesn't have the defensive capabilities here. Queen a2, rook b8, and the game is just over. It's over, and these knights never participated. Very cool move. Bishop takes b3. When I saw that this would attack me, I was going to go here. And after knight e6, I was going to probably take and then put my rooks. And last but not least, was a5 the best plan? It's not only the best plan, a5, it's the only plan. I'm going to put this in my second book. I'm putting this in the chapter on converting positions and attacking, maybe. One of those. a5, a4, very instructive pawn play example. Doing this. And rook takes a3 is one of the best moves. Yeah, I sacrifice like this. And then this. c4 is also good. I think practically speaking, c4 is very good. The best move for white now is to try to trade the queen. Hey, I'm going to put that into the book as well, by the way. Defense. The most important thing to do here with white is to get a queen trade. And if the queen avoids it, then you take. That is important. That is very important. You have to be very timely with your defense. If you go here, you lose. Rook c8. And then I get the c1. Rook c1, here I take. You have something, it looks a bit scary with the queen, but I just don't let you do anything, and I win. But there is also this move. Yeah, this was a cool game. This is one of my favorite games of the whole slow run. This one. And now this next one will be over in 5 seconds, right? Let's play maybe a Queen's Gambit. Maybe a London. Let's play a London. Let's play a London and leave our king in the center of the board. Oh, that's kind of an interesting move. G6. Okay. So we're going to set up the pawn pyramid. Like this. And what I want to do here is I want to play in a way where they castle and I don't. Ah, there it is. So h4 is a very dangerous plan. Our generic IC plays like this, and generally black should play h5. If they don't play h5 like this, you actually can generate a very monstrous attack. This is not principled chess. This is not principled, but it's extremely effective. Now the bishop is going to leave. White is already nearly winning. From a practical standpoint, unless the opponent uses Stockfish and defends themselves, this attack has already successfully arrived, and the only way black doesn't lose is if black lands one of these two counterattacks. Chess is a very principled thing. If you are storming on one side of the board and black has to strike back in the center, that's the way that they can maybe defend themselves. The computer will evaluate that this is too slow. Okay, so knight c6, right? They could still play e5, although it's kind of unlikely. I'm looking at bishop d3, and I'm also looking at transferring my queen over this way and potentially attacking. But for now, let's open up the h-file. So now my rook is staring directly at the black king. They take with the f-pawn, so they want to maybe move their rook. I can develop the bishop. I can maybe move my queen. g5 is always there. I can also take the knight so that the move e5 is not possible. A lot of interesting ideas. Or I can begin this queen transfer. Which one is going to be the most effective? I'm going to go queen e2. Because I want to put my queen and rook together on the h-file and make this position a nightmare for black. Now, black can play rook e8 or, oh, okay, there's queen e8, very instructive. But the unfortunate thing about this move is there is now no e5. I like how black played, by the way. Organizing the pieces like this to try to get e5. Actually very sophisticated stuff. Queen is there. The lazy move is bishop to d3. Just a kind of a simple move. Also long castle. Also knight h3 and knight g5 looks just awful. And if my opponent plays rook e8, I will actually just trap the queen. Oh my gosh, can you imagine rook e8, knight g5, black resigns? That would be horrendous. For the record, this pawn has been free, but just like the last game, we don't want that. Like, the pawn doesn't interest us. What interests us is checkmating the king. What I also haven't done in this position is push pawn to g5. Wow, bishop takes, huh? Oh. Zwischenzug. In-between move. Of course, in this position, of course, pawn takes is probably fine. After it takes, you simply move the queen. But if you move the knight first, the queen has to go there. And that is a huge problem because you've also opened up your queen and they can't even take this back anymore because of mate. So the game will now proceed queen e8, pawn takes g4, and maybe black will play h6. Because if they play knight g4, they just get mated. And if they play h6, then I go here. And ooh! But this move we established a long time ago doesn't work at all because we have too much defense. And they've just lost the knight. And if this, they're going to get mated. Folks, people hate getting attacked. This game is over in like 15 moves. Okay, now they go for this. Now the position is still a little bit tricky here. Just a touch. For example, if I move the knight, they can play knight takes g4, which is a little bit uncomfortable. If I take here, there is this move, which is a little scary. Now we are up 5 points of material. In this position, we are up 2 pieces. If I bring the knight back and they take on g4, so we basically we're probably going to lose one of these pieces. Unless I take, they take with check, I block, they take again. You know what's the easiest way to win a winning position? It's to protect your king. That's the truth. If the second you start allowing things like queen e3, things could get really out of control really quickly. So I'm going to take a sip of my smoothie and then make a decision. I think take here, and something like a rook takes doesn't quite work for us. I might just castle the king. I think that's what I'm going to do. My logic, if they take here, wow. Knight takes g4 instead. Can I sacrifice the queen? I kind of want to take and just like, and take the rook. That's actually not that crazy. I take, they take, I take. They take? No. Well, maybe. Okay, I mean, I think it's ridiculous, right? I should probably just move my queen out of the way. I like the move queen g2. But then they can maybe even go here. What is happening? This should have been trivial, you know? And it's somehow like, it's way more complicated than I thought. So the knight is now hanging. Wow. My queen is still hanging. And my knight is hanging and my bishop is hanging. So if I move my queen to g1, the knight is hanging. And they can take my rook, but then I'm obviously going to take their bishop and all their other pieces. I mean, this is crazy. I get queen g1 or queen g3, queen h3, queen g1. What do we do here? This is a wild... If we go here and the queen takes... And then we can... No, I don't like that the queen can take. Maybe queen g3. Queen g3 could be the move. Because we're up 2 pieces. What is going on here? How's this 1300 outplaying me? Huh? What's hold on a minute. I do kind of want to just like sacrifice the queen for 3 pieces and have a fun time. But come on, what's going on? What's going on here? I only have 4 minutes too. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. I think at the intermediate level, this position is beyond the pay grade. Like it's simply too complicated. Let's go queen h3. My opponent's gonna make another move in like 2 seconds, probably. That seems to be the MO. So if this, okay, the queen takes on e5. Now I look at queen e6 check here. Take. They take the rook. I take their rook. That's what I looked at. Queen e6. Also, rook e1 pins the knight, no? Rook e1 pins the knight to the queen. But this is so insane, this position. Like, it felt like I should have won a long time ago. And now queen e3. Or rook e3. Queen e3, there's like rook there, which actually should still be winning for us. But, all right, I have to speed up. I'm playing way too slowly. I like my opponent's clock management. Like it's actually very impressive how fast my opponent is playing. Man, now they're gonna get like the bishop in the game. This person is crazy strong. Let's give a check first. I'm sweating. I am uncomfortable here. This is pawn takes. They're gonna take with the bishop. Rook d3. So I am up a knight for 3 pawns. I mean, I don't know how on earth this happened. c5, I think now is the best move. I would be completely bewildered if the opponent continued to play. Okay, this is not a good sign. I would like to activate my queen. And I'm going to play queen d7 check. The idea is quite straightforward. The king is on the last rank. Maybe I can sacrifice my rook. That's always a decent idea. Sack the rook. The bishop goes back. Okay. Wow. I can start winning some pawns, but that might even be too dangerous. How about rook? What about a queen trade? Let's go for a queen trade. I don't like this. Don't like this. Do not like this. Don't know what's going on. Ooh. Well, after that, I might be a little bit more confident. Although I am second guessing myself all the time. I only have 2 pawns extra. I only have 2 pawns remaining. I have like an extra knight, but it was supposed to be a little easier. Well, now it will be easier. So now we give this check. My opponent might have to make the walk of shame back to g7 again, but the difference now is I have a lot more firepower. So rook d8 will lose because I will give a check. The king is going to be really in a bad spot here because he's totally dominated. Rook on the 7th rank in the endgame. I'm actually sweating a little bit. Like, I did not expect this type of a game. Rook f5 is the best defensive move. I will absolutely lose my mind. Rook f5 is like there's 2 people playing the game at the same time. At this level. I mean, rook f5 would be... Because it's tough, you know, like knight g... Bro. Come on, man. This is... What is this, man? This is crazy. What is this? What, at this level, rook to f5? That is insane. Okay. Everything defended on the light squares. And now we can get in like this. If rook here, this is a fork. That would be a very welcome sight. That fork. But rooks on the 7th rank will win me the game here. That's what's gonna, you know, that's simply gonna win me the game. Okay. Knight d6. So this is a huge problem for black. But if the king goes to h7, somehow they get out of it again. But then I'm going to play rook f1 and go for rook f7. Very instructive. Very instructive. Okay, I mean, I'm happy to trade, I guess. I don't know what there was to think about there. Knight f5. The bishop is hanging. And if the bishop moves, we will take on h6. That looks terrible. That actually looks like I can go here. And this is almost mate. So the only way to actually protect yourself is to play this move, which is just awful, it looks like. But it might be the only way. And that's just mate. Okay. That was absurd. This person... this person was so good. I mean, this game was supposed to be over in like 15 moves. I mean, I had a totally crushing position. And then after h6 this was the best move. This was the best move. And all of a sudden, it got really dicey. Like, so 2 moves here in the middle of total chaos. So the best move here was not queen g2 because this came with a tempo. The best move was queen h3, counterattacking the knight. Then the knight would have taken my bishop, which is what I thought was going to happen. And then I would continue with my journey. Yeah, I mean, here my opponent drank an energy drink. And managed to defend their position. Like, to spot, not to take my knight or my bishop, but the pawn. Another in-between move is incredible. And actually, yeah, the computer wants to sack the queen. It's saying that the only way to play here is to sack the queen. Which is just wild. And then to get to this position. But I didn't do that. I kind of got lost in the ocean here. And I maintained an advantage, and I had to, you know, regain my senses. Notice that here, oh, rook e7 is such a nice move. Rook e7 is so nice. Rook e7, and you can't take because queen h6 is mate. Wow. That is an example of just going straight for the kill. Whew. Amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. This person really played a great game. Oh, I should not be sweating this much at the 1400 level. I had to kind of lock in there and win the game. You know, and I won by focusing on the light squares. Like, I won because of my light squared bishop. I won because of the light squares that the knight, you know, and the rook created, and rook on the 7th rank. I thought this was very instructive. How I basically always was looking for a way to get in with my rooks. Rook takes b7 was a free pawn. Immediately, my opponent should have taken over the file. If they did that, I probably would have just traded rooks with them. Trading one set of rooks here is probably an easy win, but trading two might make it harder with just the bishop and a knight versus this. So you kind of, you kind of use this piece. Yeah, and here, because black has no moves, actually white can just push this pawn all the way and then just like remove the rook, take the pawn and promote this pawn. It's kind of incredible. Black has no forward pawn mobility at all and cannot move the king and the bishop. So that was a crazy game. Wow, I am actually sweating under my armpits, and that made the episode a lot longer. Excellent job. Yeah, I will see you all in the next episode. You can get a ticket to the Europe tour, or you can pre-order a signed copy of the next book, or just pre-order a copy, because the ones in the US are sold out. Unless you want to order one from the UK, but I imagine the shipping cost will be a lot of money. Anyway, that's all I have for you, and you know the drill. Get out of here.